Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. It's morning for me right now. Um,
Wait, hold everything. I'm not about to feed you fear based content disguised as spiritual guidance. I'm not going to tell you something bad is about to happen to you because that's not how I work. What I will do is help you see patterns clearly so you can make informed choices about situations that might not be serving you. There's a difference between preparing you and scaring you. Let's be smart about this. You already know something's off. That's why you clicked. That's why you're here. That's why the title grabbed you, because somewhere inside you've been sensing something, picking up on signals, noticing inconsistencies, feeling that familiar discomfort that shows up when reality isn't matching what someone's telling you. Your gut's been whispering, maybe for days, maybe for weeks, maybe for months, while you've been overriding it, explaining it away, giving benefit of doubt you're not even sure is deserved. And now you're looking for confirmation, for permission to trust what you've been sensing, for someone to validate that you're not paranoid or overthinking or imagining things. So here it is. You're not imagining it. Something is happening, or more accurately, something's been happening that you haven't been fully seeing. And your intuition, that quiet knowing that lives below conscious thought, has been tracking it the whole time. What's your body telling you right now as you read this? Write it down if you're brave enough to acknowledge it. Because here's the reality: nobody wants to say out loud. People show you who they are constantly through small actions, through patterns of behavior, through what they prioritize and what they neglect, through how they treat you when nobody's watching versus how they perform when it matters. And when someone's preparing to hurt you, whether through betrayal or withdrawal or deception or abandonment, they telegraph it. Not always consciously, not always intentionally, but they do. The distance that starts subtle then grows. The explanations that used to make sense but now feel flimsy. The defensiveness that appears when you ask simple questions. The shift in how they look at you, talk to you, prioritize you. You've been noticing these things, maybe dismissing them, maybe making excuses, maybe telling yourself you're being insecure or demanding or reading too much into normal fluctuations. But deep down, you know, have you been making excuses for behavior that doesn't sit right? Be honest in the comments, because let me walk you through what I'm actually picking up. There's someone in your orbit, could be romantic partner, could be close friend, could be family member, could be colleague, whose energy toward you has shifted, and that shift isn't moving in your favor. They're pulling back, creating distance, building walls, preparing themselves emotionally for something they haven't told you about yet. Maybe they're planning to end things but haven't found the words or the timing or the courage. So they're creating space first, detaching incrementally, making it easier on themselves by slowly disconnecting before the final break. Maybe they're involved in something they shouldn't be, another person, another commitment, another version of their life that doesn't include you the way you currently exist in it. And they're managing the cognitive dissonance by emotionally separating from you while physically still present. Maybe they've made a decision that affects you significantly, but they're waiting to tell you, holding information you deserve to have, operating with knowledge you don't possess while pretending everything's normal. Whatever the specific content, the pattern is similar. They know something you don't. They're preparing for something you're not prepared for. They're ahead of you in a process you haven't been invited into. Which scenario makes your stomach drop? Tell me what you're afraid might be true. Because here's what you need to understand about why people do this. It's not usually malicious. Most people aren't sadistically plotting your pain. They're just human, scared, conflict avoidant, selfish in the moment, prioritizing their comfort over your clarity. They tell themselves they're sparing your feelings by not saying anything yet. They convince themselves they're waiting for the right time. They rationalize the deception as protection, but really, they're protecting themselves from your reaction, from having to face what they're doing, from the discomfort of honest conversation about difficult truths. And in the process of protecting themselves, they're leaving you in the dark, operating on incomplete information, making choices based on a version of reality that isn't accurate. And that's not kindness, that's not consideration. That's cowardice dressed up as care. Does this feel like what's happening? Share if you're recognizing this pattern, because I want to address what you might be feeling right now. Panic, maybe, that rising anxiety of waiting for the other shoe to drop, of knowing something's coming but not knowing what or when, anger, possibly, at yourself for not seeing it sooner, at them for not being honest, um, at the situation for being complicated when you wanted it to be simple, denial, perhaps. The part of you that's reading this and thinking, no, not us, not this person, this doesn't apply to my situation, resignation potentially, the exhausted, of course, this is happening, that comes when patterns repeat. When you realize you've been here before with different people in different contexts, but the same underlying dynamic, all of it's valid, all of it's information, all of it's your system processing a truth it didn't want to face. What's the strongest emotion hitting you? Name it below. Because here's what I need you to hear clearly. Even if I'm right, even if this person is preparing to hurt you, is hiding something, is planning an exit you don't see coming, you have more power than you think. You don't have to wait passively for them to do whatever they're planning to do. You don't have to let them control the timeline and the terms. You don't have to give them the luxury of managing this entirely on their schedule while you sit in the dark. You can ask directly. You can name what you're sensing. You can say something feels off and I need you to be honest with me about what's actually happening. Will that be comfortable? No. Will they maybe deny it? Possibly. Will it potentially accelerate whatever ending might be coming? Perhaps. But you'll have your answer. You'll have information. You'll stop living in the purgatory of suspicion and start dealing with reality, whatever that reality turns out to be. Are you ready to ask the hard question? Tell me if you've got the courage. Because let's also talk about the possibility that I'm wrong. Maybe you're reading threat where there isn't one. Maybe your past trauma is making you see betrayal in normal behavior. Maybe your anxiety is amplifying small changes into catastrophic predictions. That's possible. That happens. Past hurt creates hypervigilance that sometimes sees danger where none exists. But here's the thing, your intuition and your anxiety feel different. Anxiety is noisy, spiraling, catastrophic. Intuition is quiet, steady, knowing. Anxiety says, what if everything terrible happens? Intuition says something specific is off. Anxiety creates panic. Intuition creates certainty. So check, which one are you experiencing? Is this the familiar churn of anxiety, looking for evidence to confirm its fears? Or is this the calm knowing of intuition that's been trying to get your attention? Only you can distinguish between them. Only you know which voice is speaking. Which is it, anxiety or knowing? Be truthful in the comments. Because here's what happens if you ignore this. If you're right, if something is building that you're not seeing clearly, if this person is preparing to hurt you somehow, ignoring your intuition won't stop it from happening. It'll just mean you're less prepared when it does. It'll mean you're caught off guard instead of braced. It'll mean you feel blindsided instead of aware. And that feeling of being blindsided, that how did I not see this coming? Shame, it's worse than the actual event sometimes. It damages your trust in yourself. It makes you question your perceptions. It creates self-doubt that lingers long after the situation resolves. So even if facing this now is uncomfortable, even if asking questions feels risky, even if getting clarity means confronting difficulty, it's better than the alternative. It's better than letting yourself be caught completely unprepared. It's better than ignoring what you know until reality forces you to see it. Have you been ignoring your gut to avoid discomfort? Admit it below. Because I also want to address what you're hoping I'll say. You're probably hoping I'll tell you you're wrong, that everything's fine, that you're just being paranoid and this person loves you and nothing bad is coming. And I wish I could give you that reassurance. I wish I could promise you that your fears are baseless and your relationship is solid and trust is warranted, but I can't because I don't know your specific situation. I don't see the details. I'm reading energy patterns, not facts. What I can tell you is this: trust yourself, trust what you're sensing, trust that your intuition wouldn't be screaming at you if everything was fine. And then investigate. Don't just sit with suspicion. Don't just marinate in fear. Actually find out. Because certainty, even painful certainty, is better than chronic doubt. Knowing the truth, even hard truth, is better than living in comfortable lies. What would it take for you to actually investigate instead of just worry? Think about it and share. Because here's the deeper pattern I'm seeing. This isn't just about this person potentially hurting you. This is about you learning, maybe for the first time, maybe for the 100th time, to trust yourself over other people's words, to believe your knowing over their reassurances, to honor your perception over their explanations, to value your clarity over their comfort, because people lie, not always maliciously, sometimes to protect themselves, sometimes to avoid conflict, sometimes because they don't even know they're lying. They're so committed to a narrative that contradicts reality. And if you're the kind of person who's been trained to doubt yourself, to prioritize others' comfort, to believe that questioning things makes you difficult or paranoid or high maintenance, you'll override your knowing. You'll silence your intuition. You'll accept explanations that don't actually explain. You'll stay longer than you should because leaving feels harder than enduring. And that pattern, that habit of self-betrayal, it costs you. Not just in this situation, in every situation, in your whole life. So maybe this moment, this suspicion, this uncomfortable knowing that something's wrong, maybe it's not just about this person. Maybe it's about you learning to finally, consistently, reliably trust yourself. Is this a pattern you ignoring your gut until it's too late? Get real in the comments. Because here's what I want you to do. Stop waiting. Stop hoping it'll resolve itself. Stop giving this person chance after chance to be honest while they're clearly not being honest. Decide what you need to know. Get clear on what questions need answering. Figure out what behavior you're actually willing to accept versus what you've been tolerating. And then create the conversation. Not accusatorially, not from a place of already decided judgment, but from genuine need for clarity. I've been sensing something's off between us and I need us to talk honestly about it. I feel like there's distance growing and I want to understand what's happening. Something doesn't feel right and I trust my intuition enough to ask directly, are you being fully honest with me? Simple, direct, clear. Their response will tell you everything, not just their words, their energy, their willingness to engage, their defensiveness or openness, their ability to make space for your concerns, or their need to immediately dismiss them. People who have nothing to hide don't get aggressively defensive when asked honest questions. People who care about you don't make you feel crazy for sensing what's real. Can you have that conversation this week? Commit below if you're ready. Because ultimately, here's what this comes down to. Something might be about to happen, or something might already be happening that you're just now seeing clearly, or your anxiety might be creating problems where none exist. But regardless of which it is, you deserve clarity. You deserve honesty. You deserve to make choices based on accurate information rather than carefully managed narratives. So stop apologizing for needing truth. Stop feeling guilty for asking questions. Stop making yourself smaller to make someone else's deception more comfortable. Get your answers. Face reality. Make decisions from knowing rather than from hope or fear or avoidance. Because living in uncertainty is its own kind of suffering. And you don't have to choose that just because someone else is choosing dishonesty. Trust yourself. Ask the questions. Get the truth. Whatever it is, you can handle it. You're stronger than you think. And clarity, even painful clarity, is always better than comfortable confusion. This person might be about to hurt you, or you might be about to save yourself by seeing clearly and choosing accordingly. Either way, the power is yours. Use it.